The village was always quiet, too quiet. Nestled between hills, it seemed to huddle under the watchful eyes of the old houses. They were packed together, leaning against each other as if for comfort. But high on the hill, overlooking the village, stood a house alone. This was the house everyone whispered about, the abandoned house. No one dared to go near it, except Ahmed.
I wasn't afraid. I was curious, and I was determined to uncover the secrets hidden within those crumbling walls.
The whispers followed him as he walked. Old Man Hemlock muttered about foolish children. Mrs. Periwinkle shook her head and clutched her shawl, but Ahmed paid them no mind. He had waited for this moment, waited to stand before the house that had haunted his dreams for weeks. The house on the hill. The house everyone feared, the house that called to him.
The sun was already sinking below the horizon, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple when I reached the foot of the hill.
Taking a deep breath, Ahmed began his ascent. The air grew colder with each step. The wind whispered through the trees, sounding like warning voices. But Ahmed pressed on, his heart pounding in his chest. He was ready for whatever awaited him. The house loomed before him, larger and more imposing than he had imagined. It was as if the structure itself was alive, breathing and watching his every move. The once bright paint was now peeling and faded, revealing the bare bones of the structure beneath. The walls seemed to whisper secrets of a time long past, a history buried under layers of neglect. The windows, like empty eyes, stared back at him. They were dark and hollow, giving the house an eerie, almost sentient presence. The front door hung precariously from one hinge, an open mouth ready to swallow him whole. It creaked slightly in the wind, as if beckoning him to enter.
I paused, my hand hovering over the rusty doorknob. The metal was cold to the touch, sending a shiver up my arm. I had come this far. The journey had been long and arduous, filled with doubts and fears. There was no turning back now. The answers I sought were inside, and I had to face whatever lay within.
A sudden gust of wind rattled the windows, sending shivers down his spine. The sound was almost like a warning, a final chance to turn away. Taking a deep breath, Ahmed pushed the door open. The hinges groaned in protest, as if the house itself was reluctant to let him in. It creaked ominously, the sound echoing through the silent house like a scream. The noise seemed to reverberate off the walls, amplifying the sense of foreboding. The air inside was thick with dust and the smell of decay. It was a suffocating atmosphere, heavy with the weight of abandonment. Cobwebs hung from every corner, shrouding the furniture in a ghostly veil. Each step stirred up clouds of dust, making it hard to breathe. The setting sun cast long, eerie shadows across the floor, making it difficult to see. The play of light and dark created an almost surreal landscape inside the house.
I stepped cautiously inside, my heart pounding in my chest. Every instinct screamed at me to turn back, but I forced myself to move forward.
The door slammed shut behind him with a resounding boom, plunging him into darkness. The sudden loss of light was disorienting, leaving him momentarily blind. He fumbled for his flashlight, his hand trembling slightly. The small device felt like a lifeline in the oppressive darkness. As the beam of light pierced the gloom, illuminating the dusty interior, Ahmed felt a chill run down his spine. The shadows seemed to dance in the corners, playing tricks on his eyes. He was truly alone now, trapped within the walls of the abandoned house. The silence was deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the old structure. Every creak of the floorboards, every rustle of the wind against the windows sounded amplified in the stillness. It was as if the house was alive, breathing and shifting around him.
I took a deep breath, trying to calm my racing heart. The air was thick and stale, making it hard to fill my lungs. I had come here for answers, and I wouldn't find them standing frozen in the doorway. I had to push forward, no matter how terrifying the journey might be.
With newfound determination, Ahmed began to explore. Each step was a battle against his fear, but he knew he had to keep moving. The answers he sought were somewhere within these walls, and he was determined to find them, no matter the cost. The ground floor was a labyrinth of rooms, each one filled with the remnants of a life once lived. The air was thick with dust, and the silence was almost deafening, broken only by the occasional creak of the old wooden floorboards. There were dusty books scattered on the floor, their pages yellowed with age. Some were open, as if someone had been reading them and left in a hurry, while others were stacked haphazardly, forming small towers of forgotten knowledge. A rocking chair swayed gently in the corner, as if moved by an unseen hand. The rhythmic creaking added to the eerie atmosphere, making it seem as though the house itself was alive, breathing and watching. Ahmed ran his fingers over the dusty surface of a grand piano, its keys silent beneath his touch. He imagined the melodies that once filled the room, the laughter and joy that accompanied the music. He could almost hear the faint echoes of music, laughter and voices long gone. It was as if the walls themselves were whispering secrets of the past, stories of the people who once called this place home.
In the dining room, a long mahogany table stood in the center of the room, surrounded by chairs draped in white sheets. The table was set for a meal that never happened, with tarnished silverware and dusty plates. A single plate lay shattered on the floor, the remnants of a meal long forgotten. It was as if time had stopped, leaving everything frozen in a moment of abandonment.
Ahmed picked up a shard of china, its edges smooth with time. He wondered about the hands that once held it, the conversations that took place over meals shared at this table. He imagined a family gathered around this table, sharing stories and laughter. The warmth of their presence seemed to linger in the air, a stark contrast to the cold emptiness that now filled the room. What had become of them? Where had they gone? And why had they left so suddenly? Why had they abandoned their home? The questions swirled in Ahmed's mind, each one more pressing than the last. As he moved from room to room, Ahmed noticed something peculiar. Photographs. They were everywhere, each one a snapshot of a moment in time, a glimpse into the lives of the people who once lived here. On the walls, on the mantelpiece, even tucked into the frames of broken mirrors. The faces in the photographs seemed to watch him, their eyes following his every move. Each one depicted the same thing, a young girl with laughing eyes and a mischievous grin. She seemed to be the heart of the home, her presence felt in every corner. She appeared to be about 10 years old, dressed in clothes that seemed to belong to a different era. Her image was hauntingly beautiful, a stark contrast to the decay that surrounded her.
I found myself drawn to the photographs, my curiosity growing with each one I found. Who was this girl? What was her story? And what was her connection to this house? The questions gnawed at me, driving me to explore further.
A sudden sound, like a child crying, sent a chill down Ahmed's spine. He froze, listening intently. The sound was faint, almost like a whisper, but it was unmistakable. The sound seemed to be coming from upstairs. It was as if the house itself was calling to him, urging him to uncover its secrets. Taking a deep breath, Ahmed gripped his flashlight tightly and began to climb the creaking staircase. Each step felt like a journey into the unknown, the darkness ahead filled with both fear and anticipation. Each step he took seemed to echo the girl's mournful cries, drawing him deeper into the heart of the house's mystery. The air grew colder, and the shadows seemed to dance around him, as if guiding him towards the truth that lay hidden within the walls of this forgotten home. The upper floor was even more shrouded in darkness and dust. Ahmed's flashlight beam danced across the walls, revealing faded wallpaper and peeling paint. The air was heavy with a strange, oppressive atmosphere, making it difficult to breathe. He could feel his heart pounding in his chest, his senses on high alert. The crying seemed closer now, more insistent. Each step he took seemed to echo through the empty halls, amplifying the eerie silence that surrounded him. The house felt alive, as if it were watching his every move, waiting for something to happen.
I paused at the end of the hallway, my gaze drawn to a large, ornate mirror hanging on the wall. It was unlike any mirror I had ever seen, with intricate carvings that seemed to tell a story of their own. The frame was gilded, though tarnished with age, and the glass itself was cloudy, as if it held secrets from the past.
The glass was cloudy with age, but as Ahmed watched, a figure began to materialize within its depths. It was the girl from the photographs. Her eyes, once filled with laughter, were now wide with sadness, her lips trembling slightly as she reached out a hand towards him. Her presence was both haunting and mesmerizing, as if she were caught between two worlds, desperately trying to communicate.
Please, help me. Her voice was barely a whisper, yet it echoed in the vast emptiness of the house, carrying with it a weight of sorrow and desperation that was impossible to ignore.
Ahmed stumbled back, his heart racing. He had never believed in ghosts before, but there was something about the girl's ethereal presence that sent shivers down his spine. He could feel a cold spot forming in the air around him, as if the temperature had suddenly dropped. Taking a deep breath, Ahmed forced himself to step closer to the mirror. He knew he had to understand what was happening, even if it meant confronting his deepest fears.
Who are you? What is this place? His voice trembled as he spoke, the words barely escaping his lips. He felt a strange connection to the girl, as if their fates were somehow intertwined.
The girl's image flickered in the mirror, her expression one of profound sadness. She seemed to be struggling to maintain her form, as if the mirror's power was waning.
This was once my home, but a terrible curse was placed upon it, trapping my family and me here for eternity. We cannot leave until the curse is broken. Her words hung in the air, heavy with the weight of centuries of suffering. Ahmed felt a surge of determination. He knew he had to help her, to find a way to break the curse and free the souls trapped within the house. The journey ahead would be fraught with danger and uncertainty, but he was ready to face it, for the sake of the girl in the mirror.